Hello, everybody. Welcome and thanks for being here for another Rising Tide Talk. I'm Matt, Roleplay Chat Capelli, and today we're going to be talking about marketing, and not just your usual marketing, but alternative marketing strategies. And I'm joined by probably the best father and son duo out there as far as TTRPG goes, that's for sure. And maybe even outside of the TTRPG space, you know, they're just powerhouses in this space. They're podcasters, game designers, writers, actual play performers. They've made dice for a while. Now they're on to building worlds and selling modules and selling settings to folks. So please welcome the creators and the founders of Homie and the Dude, both Tom and Bodhi. Welcome, guys, to Rising Tide Talks.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me. And Matt, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, dude. You're one of the best in the space, so we're always hyped to talk to you.
I was thinking, what other father and son teams are in the TTRPG? I think if we're the best, is there even a second best?
Yeah, we're only best because there is no second best.
That's too funny. That's too funny.
I was then trying to think of father-son teams outside of.
I was thinking the same thing.
I mean, the Skarsgårds. I was thinking like Ben Stiller and his dad. I was thinking like the Smiths. Will and Jaden.
Yeah.
I don't
Ben
think
Stiller's father was like a sitcom actor.
Yeah, well. Exactly. I don't think we compete. I really don't.
No, I think we should. Look, guys, it's been great seeing you tonight. We really don't belong here.
Awesome. Well, yeah. So, I mean, whether it's by default or not, I think the two of you are awesome members of the TTRPG space, and I think today's going to be a really cool conversation because marketing is something that I think often goes underappreciated in the space, and sometimes the default marketing strategies are often applied. But those default strategies tend to usually involve, funneling money over to Meta or funneling money over to Google. So I really appreciate, being able to pick your brains tonight on just alternate ways of engaging the communities that we have around us. So, without further ado, why don't I throw the microphone over to the two of you? I know you guys both have your Scorched Basin Kickstarter live right now, and the marketing that you guys did for that is, I think, really innovative. So I'd love to throw it over to you. Give us the elevator pitch on Scorched Basin, and then if you don't mind, for the uninitiated, what did you guys do for Scorched Basin as far as the marketing campaign goes?
Yeah, so Scorched Basin is a Mad Max / Dune TTRPG setting that is system agnostic, so you can use it with whatever system your table likes playing best. It's essentially comes with this basin location that can be plug and played into a world that you already have, or can be an entire campaign setting in of itself. You're going to get 5 unique factions that are all fighting over the resources of this basin. You're going to get 6 different desert terrains with weather mechanics that you can use to, kind of bring an element of danger, and that coming from that third entity of the weather and the terrain that the players are engaging in. We're going to give you a bunch of brand new mechanics, things like our brand new magic system called the Current, our land vehicle mechanics that are system agnostic, our alchemy system. There's languages in the book. There's recipes that are faction accurate, basically, that you can cook for your TTRPG table. There's music. There's all manner of craziness in this book. We're trying to really innovate and push the bar out. And one of those things that then relates to the marketing is we also have voiceovers from over 100 TTRPG creators and content creators in the space who have contributed voiceovers to the various NPCs throughout the book. So when you're in the book, you'll be able to scan a QR code and listen to what that NPC might sound like and things like that. So
voiced in some of your probably more recognizable, familiar, favorite TTRPG content creators across TikTok and YouTube. So anyone that you can think of, there's a good chance they might be voicing an NPC in the Scorched Basin, including Matt.
Yeah, including me. And actually, I got one of my kids to record, so that was kind of fun. I was feeling inspired by the father-son duo that I decided, hey, why not bring my kid in on this action?
She did amazing.
But yeah, no, the voiceover stuff is super cool, and I think it's a really neat way of engaging the TTRPG community as a whole and kind of making it a celebration almost of all of the great creators out there. can you dig in a little deeper? Like, talk to us more about the creative army that you guys have basically put together for the Scorched Basin. How does that work?
Mm.
And what's your kind of like strategy there?
Yeah, so I'll take a step back because you did mention that the more traditional way of marketing is through Meta ads or Google ads on YouTube or that type of thing. What we so we did that for parts of our first Kickstarter and even a little bit of our second Kickstarter. But we came away from that just feeling not great about passing any money along to large corporations that don't have any interest or desire to preserve the TTRPG community in any way. All their interest is just to continue to be profitable in their own particular sphere of the world. So we just started seeing creators on YouTube that were publicly, kind of raising their hand and saying, "Hey, we're struggling out here." Like whether it's the algorithm that's breaking or it's just not what it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. And creators that had audiences as big as a couple 100,000 subscribers that said, "We can't do this anymore. Like this used to be a viable option for us to kind of have a career. It's not anymore." And that really hit us kind of hard. And so we started thinking, okay, we don't want to do corporate marketing. That doesn't feel great, although it does work.
We wanted to experiment outside of that.
Yeah. And we see that this community is really needing some additional support. So one day we just thought, well, why don't we marry those different kind of strategies up and step away from marketing completely. So 0% of our marketing for Scorched Basin has gone to Meta or Google. Now that would probably shock and terrify other publishers because that's really the great majority of the strategy they have. And by the way, the reason they have that strategy is because it works. If you have your Facebook feed or your Instagram feed on and you have any interest at all in TTRPGs, you're going to see literally a stream of books.
If you haven't seen one-shot wonders on your TTRPG feed somewhere,
or Free League, or name them.
Exactly. Invincible's currently TTRPG that's run. There's so many that we're seeing ads for constantly, like being beaten over the head with those ads. So that is, and trust us. If you're playing the game of trying to make lots and lots and lots of money, then that is the path. Like investing in advertising in that way, that is the path. But if you want to give back to the community and find alternate ways around that, then definitely there is other options for sure. And that's what we wanted to experiment with and try and become a case study for almost and give be this whether it's idea for other folks or even a hurdle to maybe avoid or whatever it might be. But we wanted to case study whether we could do this completely through the community and completely with the community. And I think
and keep all the revenue in the ecosystem of the TTRPG community. So if you only picture the analogy of the same $100 is just being passed around from a TTRPG creator to their audience, and their audience takes it to our Kickstarter, and that whole ecosystem kind of supports itself to try to keep it going across all those areas long term.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the, and by the way, to break that down for people, what we're basically offering creators is essentially a profit share for whatever, basically they put in effort to make ads or to promote in whatever way they feel is best, whether that's an actual play, ad copy, a song some people are doing, comedy skit, whatever it might be, a podcast, whatever it might be. We're offering them basically whatever you bring in from your incredible effort and your audience, you're going to get half of basically. And we will just give it back to the community. We'll just give it straight back to you guys, essentially. And so that was a big part of it. Is a lot of our decision making going into the Scorched Basin was, we wanted to give something back to the community. And, Matt, you and I talked about this on your podcast of just how much this space, especially in the early days for us, was so welcoming, and people who had no right in helping us stepped forward and aided us in ways and gave us advice and guided us and things like that. And so we just wanted to give back to the community and see if we could provide, something to the space. So that's why we ended up going down this route of, trying to do something fun for the space that really is different, you know. And so that then incorporated both people doing promotion, but then also this voiceover stuff where we were like, what a great way for people to come to their communities and say, not only have, you know, do I think this is cool, but also I have contributed to the project. I've done voiceovers or, you know, something like that for the project basically. And the community really, really enjoyed it.
It's been amazing. Like,
yeah, the outreach to the community has been insane.
We have I think it's now over 120 TikTok and YouTube creators from very recognizable names to folks that are just starting out. And we have not, you know, if you want to do it, then, and you're a creator and you're trying to grow an audience, then you have an NPC that you can voice, and you're going to get a credit in the book, and, you know, shout it out to your audience. And if your audience gives you some love by supporting Scorched Basin, then you're going to get half of whatever they pledge towards the project. So that was our philosophy. Yeah. It felt good to us, and we've had such an incredible, you know, kind of stepping forward from the community. The community has been, I guess, you know, here's part of it. It resonated for them just on a personal level to be able to voice over stuff, because I think it's a tangential career for a lot of YouTube creators, the whole voiceover career thing. So that was something we didn't think about, but it actually was great, because most people were like, heck yeah, I want to do it, or I've always wanted to do it, or I do it, so I'm really good at it. Let's go for it. So that was really great. And, you know, if you think about that, if you put 120 people in the room that you're sitting in right now, that's a lot of people. And that's 120 different channels across YouTube and TikTok that have said, yep, we're going to do it. So, you know, if you're at all consuming content on those platforms, there's a decent chance that you have probably seen one of those creators that you follow has talked about our project, which has been pretty damn humbling, and we feel pretty grateful about it. And it kind of makes us a little bit speechless.
I was going to say, guys, like, it's a big step in the right direction for community building. But I feel like even from a marketing perspective, if you take out the community piece, not that I want to, but if you take out that perspective and just look at it from a marketing perspective, it's impressive that you have 120 people blasting out messaging about the Scorched Basin, and that network of creators is something that you guys are going to have for all future projects. So I'd love to know, like, when you guys started this alternative path towards marketing, was there kind of like this like iterative, like, we're going to have this community and it's just going to build and build and build for every project moving forward? Or like, what was the vision, the long-term vision for all of this?
I think yes, in a sense, but here's the real thing. We only really we like Tom said, most people are welcome. Don't get me wrong, if we don't vibe with your content, or, you know, your ideologies or that kind of stuff, then maybe we might not align ourselves with certain people. But I think we very much choose people that we want to spend time with and that we like. And so, like, actually the majority of like the bigger names that you're going to see are actually just friends of ours that we are now, like, you know, able to go grab you know, a brewski with, or whatever it might be, and go
play a game of Magic
with them, you know, like that kind of thing. These are more like friendships than they are like partnerships or things like that. So we, you know, we wanted to just build and like get advice from people who were, you know, amazing at what they do. And we've been lucky to be introduced to certain people and then be friends with certain people and like all this stuff. And it's been a journey of like not us seeking that for our marketing gain, but actually us just making a bunch of friends on the way, and then being like, oh my God, like maybe if they would be willing to help us out, we could go about something this way or that way, and you know, and pull it together like that. I think actually, I'll be real. I'll be super real. Two things that I would say about it. There's a lot of people who because we're friends with them, that will probably, you know, be part of that roster that you mentioned for, you know, all future Kickstarters kind of thing, and people who, you know, have aligned with us, not on like a first time basis. However, we'll say this, dude, because of the economic climate as we talked about prior to this, some big creators, you know, I won't say names, but there's been some really big creators that we've partnered with on this who have made stuff who have just not converted for maybe the reason that their audience isn't engaging like that. Maybe the product didn't gel with their audience. Maybe, the economic state of the US specifically, where most of our audience is from, is affecting that. We're not entirely sure. But those people actually are probably going to look at this as like a net loss for them, and might not ever talk to us again. That's also the reality of this situation, is those people who, we are connecting with and trying to then build those relationships with, at the end of one of these things, because that's the give and take with this is, creators don't have a lot of time. And when they then invest in something and they do, maybe not get the bang for the buck that they were hoping for, then, and we saw it like with the Wandering Tavern. I know that there's one in particular that Tom and I spoke to, who again was a big creator on Instagram. They didn't convert. We reached out the next time and we were like, hey, we'd, like try again, different product, maybe it'll work better. And, we want to give back to you again. We want to like keep this option open for you to possibly get some, some love from your people. And they very respectfully were like, nah, it's like, appreciate you guys a lot and what you're doing is awesome, but it's not for me this time. And I think that's the thing that we're balancing on this, is that a lot of creators really love this, and a lot of creators love what Tom and I are about and things like that. So a lot of them will stick around and love also the conversions that they are getting, and some of them might not, and that's very much something that we understand. And we're not going to feel hurt about that, and we're also not going to judge anyone or anything like that. It's like, you got to do what's best for you, and we just want to support the community in the best way we can. And if we are able to bring some stuff in for someone because their community activates in the right way, then dude, that's the greatest honor that we could give back to the people who we love watching their content. Totally. I'm cheering when some of my favorite creators, when they get, a backing, I'm cheering, at the table, because I'm like, I'm so happy that they're getting some backing, because they deserve it and they're amazing. So I think there's layers to it that make what Tom and I have done a very interesting experiment, and we like we said, are just humbled by the community and what they've brought to it. And we hope that we can retain a lot of those people, and we hope that people see, the benefit of what we're doing. And also, we have new ideas. Like already, Tom and I have been, as we said to you, Matt, before this conversation, we were sat here discussing, what the next step is. How can we make it so that the people that aren't, maybe their community doesn't activate as good as someone else? How do we make it so that those people still get a benefit from working with Homie and the Dude? And how can we financially support those people? So we're looking at options again in the future. Like maybe there is a place for advertising here, but maybe we need to then split some of that, revenue with our creators as well, and just spread that across all the creators. So everybody gets a little, we're not entirely sure, but we're trying to come up with ways where we can, continue to support the creators in a way that everybody gets some love at the end of all of this,
Yeah, for sure. And actually going back to kind of your description there, Bodhi, of these being people that you connect with, people that you vibe with, people who've become your friends. I consider the two of you, my friends because of our numerous interactions in the TTRPG space. If you go back to the starting of this marketing strategy and the start of these interactions and these connections, how far back did you have to, do you have to go? Because it's like, I'm trying to be an audience member tonight saying, hey, I want to do something like this. How early should they consider reaching out to creators? How early did you guys reach out to folks when, you were kind of planting the seeds of the creator army for the Scorched Basin?
So Sky Zephyrs.
I was about to say, you have to go back to Sky Zephyrs.
So exactly. Sky Zephyrs launched in I think it was August of 2023. And back then we had a couple creators that are still working with us. One of them is actually doing an expansion with us. So Laroon Smith, who is a pretty established creator on YouTube, took a chance on us. He certainly didn't have to. We went to him and said, hey, what do you think about, some sort of participation deal? He lived his entire life and his entire career is based on, fixed fees. He delivers promos and whatever the, his customer gets, then that's fine. They get what they get, and he gets what he gets. He doesn't have to do any kind of participation deals, affiliate deals. But he said yes. And equally, another who has written an expansion for Scorched Base, and his name is Cinderblock Sally, same thing. So this is back in 2023, and we had a couple others as well. Mike Shea, Sly Flourish has consistently, supported us individually on our podcast, but also has featured us on his YouTube channel. So there's some people early on that are substantial members of the community that said, sure, we're gonna lift you guys up. And this all goes back to even earlier than that, when we saw others in our community, including Jess Penley and Keith, who we were literally unknowns in the community, and they invited us into their inner friend circle, and it was deeply like humbling, and we're so grateful just to be able to call them friends after all these years. So it started early, and then we decided that we were going to invest in going to a convention. So we went to Gen Con in 2024 and started meeting and kind of putting ourselves somehow in a space where we're looking around us and we're seeing all these other creators.
We're very lucky. A creator who do you know David Tilstra, Matt?
Yeah, Dave is awesome. Love Dave.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. He's a legend, and he invited us to like a mixer party that was being hosted. And dude, like literally we walk in the room and everybody's there. Like every single person that is someone who is in TTRPG is in the room, and it's one of those where you then, we happened to spend an evening with a bunch of amazing people and got to know some folks and had conversations with them.
And we were lucky enough to pay that forward to a couple really young creators this year. So we went to Gen Con again this year, and some young creators, we had been talking to them, and they said, "Oh, we're coming to Gen Con. What do we do?" And when we met them there, we said, "Well, I'm not sure. We don't we don't have the pull to just kind of bring you to some of these places, but these are some places that you may want to get to." And they were fortunate enough to get invites into them, so they experienced the same thing that we did, and that was also pretty fulfilling as well. So it has been an evolution of years, but through those years, like Bodhi said, it hasn't been a transactional conversation of, hey, if you do this for us, we do that for you, that type of thing. That has been an ancillary part of the relationship. The relationship has been, hey, do you think we kind of vibe with these people? And then them probably saying the same thing, hey, what do you think of how many do? Do you think they're kind of cool or not? What have you heard about them? And at that point, there's a union of conversation, of just getting to know each other, of having chats with each other, eventually, just commenting in a way that you would with a blooming friendship. And we have a lot of those now that we're really, we really value in the community. But there's been a lot of time put into just kind of cultivating those relationships that we now call friendships.
It's things where we're having calls with people. We're also then trying to just meet folks and have chats with them, and a lot of those are hilariously kind of the conversation of, it's not happening in the meeting room, it's happening at the bar at the hotel later that kind of evening. It is just getting to know people. And for me, I consume a percentage of TTRPG content on the internet, but when we went to that first event that I mentioned, I walked in the room and I was like, I know some of these people, I don't know half of the rest of them. And by the time I've left, I'm like, oh my God, this is this person. I did not realize that was them, because I know them by a gamer tag, and I just spoke to Daniel or their YouTube handle, and I didn't realize that Daniel was so-and-so, And so it is one of those where I think Tom and I's approach to just talking to people is we just try and be as authentic as we can, because people who vibe with that will then want to work with us and will appreciate that. People who don't vibe with that will then won't. And it's as simple as that. It's very easy for people to distinguish where they stand with us at that point, where if we're playing some sort of game where it's trying to either be super professional or the other way, far too casual, kind of thing, it's not what people kind of want to engage with. So we just try and be ourselves. We just try and be authentic and just try and have a good time when we meet people, when we go on podcasts, like actually,
Totally.
ask questions back and have a good time and like actually enjoy our conversation as opposed to it feeling like an obligatory like interview kind of
Or trying to
situation.
sell.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody, I don't know who said this to me, but when I went to PAX Unplugged for the first time 3 or maybe 5 years ago now, it might have been Scry Society, Nick over at Scry Society. And he mentioned something to me that stuck with me for a long time, where it's like, if quote unquote networking is you just like handing out business cards, you're doing it wrong. It's
Mhm.
meant to be fun. It's meant to be you connecting with other people who are creative in the same way you want to be creative, or who have projects that are they're passionate about and you want to hear about their passion, and vice versa. And it's really this building of friendships. So, I mean, I don't know if that holds up in like the corporate world, but the TTRPG space, I feel like it really isn't that corporate world, you know? So
Yeah.
vibing and connecting and just having a good time is definitely a really solid approach to building those relationships,
Yeah.
and then inviting those people to, embark on your creative journey with you. I'm looking at the clock. We're about at the halfway mark. And I realized that I never mentioned that people in the audience can ask us their questions live. This is something that we do in every episode of RT Talks. There's there's an RT Talks discussion thread that you can go and find, and maybe Jess has already plugged it in here. So there's a Homie and the Dude Talk alternative marketing strategies, and in there's a bunch of questions already there. So if you've got questions that you wanted to ask Tom and Bodhi, please plug them in there, and then I'm gonna probably save the last 20 minutes or so of our conversation going through your questions from that thread. And yeah, bringing it back to marketing and strategies. You guys were thinking maybe you have new ideas. You were kind of like planting this idea that you have other ideas of doing different revenue splits and whatnot. Is that a fully baked idea that you're ready to share now, or is it still something that you're workshopping?
I mean, Bodhi touched on it a little bit. I think what our concern is that some creators, and it doesn't necessarily have to be based on audience size. Some creators are just really, really good at activating their audience, and if they stand behind something, their audience will say yes. If you say it's good, then I'm gonna go for it. Other creators have had less kind of success with that, or just trying to figure out how to do that. And so to be able to support both of those, first of all, the ones that have activated their audience, they're smashing it, right? So they're getting every bit as much and more than their fixed fees, because their audience is participating like they would in a fixed fee situation, but the creator is actually getting half of what that audience is contributing in their pledges to the Kickstarter. So they're super happy. Other creators aren't able to get that kind of success, that kind of conversion. So we're having conversations about, well, okay, what about them? Like it's either early days for their careers, they're still figuring out, best way to present content to their audiences. They've got a decent audience, but their audience is kind of casual. It's not really, an audience that's passionate about their stuff. So as they're figuring that out, but they're still giving us their time, their effort, their creativity in promoting us on their channels. What can we do to give back to them so that at the end of the Kickstarter, they can say, you know what, my audience maybe didn't do as much as I would have liked it to do, but hey, I still have, this other portion that I've participated in, that Homie and the Dude, it's like a big pool for everyone, whether I'm, D&D Shorts or Zach the Bold or XP to level 3, or I'm just started 6 months ago and I'm just getting my feet wet and I'm trying to get my first 1,000 subs on YouTube so that I can have, that level of, of rewards or benefits from YouTube. What can we do for those guys? And so that's the conversation we have, because, we want everyone to come away from the experience thinking that was, not only was that fun, not only was it great to work with Homie and the Dude, but also like I can justify the time that I put into the project, or at least I can justify through, a token of a reward back, for the effort that I've put in. So that's kind of what our conversations have been.
Awesome. All right. So I'm looking at the questions that we have in the chat already, and there's more of them than I had anticipated. So I think we're gonna jump right to that so that the people who are here live tonight get their questions answered.
Let's go for it.
So the first couple come from XIP Humor or XIP Humor. Sorry if I'm not saying that right. And they ask a question that maybe we touched on already. So feel free to give us summaries. But how did you manage to network and coordinate with so many different creators? And also, if I may be blunt, how much have you spent on promotion? And are you happy with the ratio of costs to earnings so far?
Okay, so a couple questions in there. I'll be as quick as possible. So, I mean, for us, I just use a basic CRM, customer relations management tool, because when you get into the 100 or 100 plus creators, and there's several elements of engagement with them, on a personal level, that's just seeing how they're doing, but we're also getting them content like media kits. We're getting them their agreement. We're getting the coordination of their NPCs, so getting them lore for their NPCs. There's a bunch of different steps. And when each creator is in a different level of the journey to get all those steps done. So some creators have got it all done. Other creators are just waiting for some stuff to be done. So it's complex. It's almost like a full-time job. But if I use a CRM tool that's just kind of plotting where each creator is, who we have to follow up with, who is still lacking on providing some stuff, who still needs some support from us, all this stuff. So that would be the way to do it. The step before that is, how do we even approach creators? Let's say there's 1,000 creators out there and we've approached 100 and a bit. Basically, we look at their content and we're like, hey, what do you think of that? Do you think they would be a good match for us? And if the answer is yes, then we'll reach out to them. And there's different ways to reach out to creators. Most creators will have some sort of contact information somewhere, either on their YouTube profile or whatever. You might have to hunt a little bit. Other times it's just plainly out there. And that starts the conversation. So I would say that's the first thing. The second thing is, it's not blunt at all as far as the return on ad spend. You do the math. Basically, if we are, so here's the thing. I'll give you an example. If it's $100 that a creator's audience member pledges to the Kickstarter, Kickstarter is going to take 10% of that off the front, right? So the remaining $90 is going to be split 50-50. Well, that's $45 for the creator and $45 for Homie and the Dude. So the creator, in effect, is getting 45% of every dollar they bring in. Hopefully everyone's following that. So if they're getting 45% of every dollar they're bringing in, then the return on ad spend is about 2.2, 2.1, something like that. But it's a fixed return on ad spend. So it's not like, in Facebook, you get a 4.5 ROAS. But you also get a 1.2 ROAS the next week. So it's kind of fluctuating. For us, it's fixed. It's a 2.1 ROAS. We know what it is. We don't spend up front, and we give our collaborators their percentage.
As of currently, we've spent nothing, is the answer.
Yeah, but we'll be writing all the checks out to our creators as soon as
the money drops.
As soon as the money drops from Kickstarter, about 3 weeks after the Kickstarter ends, we'll be doing bank transfers or PayPal transfers to all of our creators, and within about 10 days, all of our creators will have been paid.
Cool, very cool. Xip Humor, I'm going to jump to a couple questions from other folks just so that we get to everywhere, but I'll come back. I'll come back if we have time. We got a question here from Zandrio. Zandrio asks, does the genre or style of game you're making inform what kind of marketing effort it requires? What are the differences in marketing needs between a short 30-page game, for instance, and a big 300-page book?
The answer is the answer is we have no data. The answer is we only have made 300-page books. We've not done a 30-page game as of currently. So I imagine it would be, honestly, we would tackle both of them the same way. Realistically, I think we would tackle both the same way because Kickstarter requires similar principles each time you do it. And I think those remain consistent regardless the size of project that it is. Whether you're doing, a tiny zine or you're doing, like a multi-million-dollar Kickstarter like freaking the Cosmere RPG or whatever it might be. People are going to market it very, very similarly in terms of they're probably going to spend money on ads. They're probably going to reach out to some creators. And then they're also going to be looking to, engage the Kickstarter algorithm with having a good video, getting good early backing, possibly using like a pre-launch landing page to try and convert more people, get comments on the page, so on and so forth. So it's less of a, the answer is, I don't know. We've not tried to make a 30-page game, but I honestly don't think we would approach it any differently, is my honest answer.
Yeah. Especially if you're going to crowdfund them regardless. I think the platforms use the same kind of metrics, it seems like. So having a lot of early backers and followers, regardless of the size of the project, I think definitely matters. Awesome. We have another question here from Brian at Barge Games. Brian asks, what has been your best marketing investment in terms of time spent? And then we also have kind of the inverse of that. So Steven at Huckleberry RPG asks the opposite. What's something that you guys have put in a lot of marketing time into that maybe in retrospect you kind of wish you hadn't?
Time, stuff that we've invested in terms of marketing investment. I mean, dude, hours sat with people, hours engaging with our friends and just hanging out with folks. The game of Magic the Gathering I played with D&D Shorts at Gen Con. Like that kind of stuff, I think has been a really,
irrespective of how we do in the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Like we can take those away and just be like, they're really good people, and we call them, we can consider them friends, and they consider us friends. It's pretty cool.
So that's been the best one, I think, for that. I would say outside of like the creators stuff and things like that, I would say our newsletter and the fact that we have other Kickstarters that we can engage when we've gone live. We've got probably like 100 to like 150 or so backers from previous Kickstarters that are now coming through to this one. So that's a fifth, almost a quarter of our total backers. So it's a good amount of people that we've been able to engage because of that. So I would say, investing in the communities you have, starting a newsletter, having a Discord server, these earlier campaigns that we did, engaging those, and pulling your audience in basically and prepping your audience.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I think the other side of that is
for Steven.
Yes, for is it Steven? Yes. I would say if you look at social media platforms, I think they're now empty cathedrals.
Yeah.
The likes of X, of IG, having your own channel on IG. Now, I guess if you had millions and millions of subs or followers on those, then it might be different. But I'll give you an anecdote. So this is not coming from us. This is coming from Mike Shea, Sly Flourish, who's been in the game for probably now, he's been a publisher for going on, I think, plus 10 years, maybe more than that, right? So the Lazy DM's Guide is one of the OG third-party publications, and he is just known as a very reputable, authentic person. And he came on our podcast early days. He's come on our podcast a couple times, but on our podcast, this is going back in, I think it was probably 2022 or 2023, something like that.
Yeah.
On our podcast, he said, "I'm here to publicly tell you I am done with Twitter." Now this is before all of the controversy with Twitter. This was when Twitter was a safe space, and it was a place where people were really investing time and growing their. And it's an example of other social media platforms. So and we said, why? You have, and I think at that time he had maybe 65,000 followers on Twitter, because and this is what he said. He said, because it gets me a net zero conversion on my products. So it's all vanity stuff. The likes of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all
ads are different.
Ads are different because you're searching out a very qualified customer. But for your own, the amount of time you spend posting, reposting, retweeting.
And with posting one Instagram post, for people to also understand, is you've got to make that graphic. So whatever the graphic is that you're putting up, it's got to be maybe combinations of graphics from your book. So cool, let's say it's a combination of 3 graphics from your book. So someone needs to either have Photoshop or Figma or, a Canva experience to be able to put that together. You then need to choose a good, a good caption. You need to get your hashtags good. You then have to spend time actually uploading that. You probably want to put it on your story, which is going to take another minute or two, and that's just Instagram. Now you have to do that for 6 other platforms that are going to convert nothing. Absolutely nothing. And we like with Instagram and things like that, we keep them there pretty much for posterity's sake, because when people search out folks, they will just use whatever their preferred platform is. So we do have a TikTok account, we do have an Instagram account, we do have an X account, we do have, all these accounts, but we very rarely invest much into being like, oh, we're like, we can blow up here, or like that's going to be worth it. Because if folks and we've seen that, there's numerous creators who are on Instagram right now who are working with us. I can think of one on X off the top of my head who is a huge creator who and they've not converted much at all. Very much at all.
And it's less of a diagnostic on them and more of a diagnostic on that industry.
Yeah. The platforms just don't convert, right? It's yeah.
I'll give you another little. This was interesting. Someone else said this to me, and it's I feel like it's true. Places like self-promotion channels on Discord are only kind of participated in by creators, right? So if you want to self-promote, you're self-promoting in a channel that your customers aren't in there. It's just other people like you that are promoting their own stuff as well. So there's 20 people in there promoting stuff, and there's 0 people in there
clicking on anything.
Clicking on anything. And that's not just in like self-promotion channels in Discord. That's what we have found within those social media platforms. There's a lot of people that like your stuff, maybe even comment on your stuff. Usually it's other creators just giving you some love and just saying, hey, well, good job. That's a really nice job. So that's great, and it feels good. And it's really helpful sometimes when things get, dark and lonely, because it does sometimes. But as far as like actually converting revenue, someone giving you their hard-earned cash for a product that you make, we're not seeing it at all. We might be wrong. So that's our experience with it. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, no, I've heard it many a time from other creators as well. So it's I think that you're onto something there with these social media platforms being sometimes a bit of an echo chamber within themselves too, right? Like short form content tends to just perpetuate more short form content, but then trying to get people away from the algorithm is so powerful. It does a really good job of making the people who are consuming the content on that platform to stay on the platform, right? That is Meta's number one prerogative, is keep people, or TikTok or whatever. But anyhow, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole that I won't be able to get out of if I don't stop myself. Let's see. We got a question here from Jay Playa. Jay Playa asks, your strategy is built on community engagement, and that means knowing or building good relationships with the right people. What advice do you have for people who are newer to the community who don't already have these connections? And what are the best ways to build positive connections and a positive reputation? And I mean, you talked a little bit about it already, being authentic, going to conventions and stuff like that. Are there other ways that you feel like you've been able to successfully build up that network of family, TTRPG family?
I like the question because the reputation part is a very important part of this that we didn't mention, that I think is a very, very good question. So first of all, to build good relationships, one, be yourself, be genuine, be honest about who you are, but also know your audience, know who you're talking to, know who you're kind of, know the space in the community. Like, for example, going to someone with wild opinions that might be, out of whack with what they are publicly posting about is probably not going to get you in anyone's good books, kind of thing. So, be smart in how you engage people. Then I would say, like I said, be authentic, be yourself. Tom and I, dude, even with our team, forget creators, just our team, and we do this with all the creators as well, but just to give you an example, it starts with our team. when we speak to our artist, our layout artist, or our editor, who are our most consistent close people, 40 minutes or 30 to 45 minutes of those conversations are, hey, how are you doing? What's going on with life? How's your partner? How's the birthday that you went to the other day? Oh, you said you were building this in your back garden. And it's just being a freaking human with people. So like that's a really big one of like active listening to those people, talking to them, engaging them in conversation, and just having a good time getting to know people. And people just care, and that, like, a lot of people say to us that they enjoy talking to us because we're not, here to just sell a product into blah 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 blah, down their throat. We're here to just be like, yo, you're cool. We love what you do. Let's hang out and talk. And then if there's a way for us to collaborate, amazing. Next thing I want to say is collaborations with other creators that are of a similar level to you, or above yourselves. So, for example, when we first started publishing, we worked with Nord Games a little bit, and they're a bigger publisher, and that really was helpful to learn some things and interact with them and become friendly with them and work with them. But also it's things like if you want to be a YouTuber, like for example, there's a group of YouTubers at the moment that are up and coming that are all very connected. So like Naigobi, Mystic Arts, Trekeros, Corkboards and Curiosities, like all of those people are like very, very close and are like working on things to like bring each other up. So if you can build a community of creators or other people in a similar space around you, and you all kind of, give each other like IOUs of like, I'm going to help work on this with you, or I'm going to, that kind of stuff. And it becomes like more of a collaborative space rather than a like transactional space.
Or competitive space.
Or a competitive space. Yeah, exactly. Then that's way better. The other thing then is reputation, dude, because that's the other thing. We've been at this consistently for 4 years, realistically. Within the TTRPG space, we've been here for 4 years.
It takes time as well.
It takes a lot of time, dude. Like a couple of people, would mumble about us originally, and things like that. But, the more people that you talk to and the more people that you reach out to, the more folks will, and let me tell you this, if you're reaching out to creators, I promise you those creators are talking to other creators about you. If you reach out to a creator, another creator, they're going to go, hey, so-and-so, have you heard about these people? They're offering this. Is this like, and we know because we've then had other creators come back and be like, oh, so-and-so asked me about you the other day, blah, 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 that kind of thing. So everybody's talking, like everybody's gonna like talk about it and get to know you and things like that. So again, we just try and be ourselves, because then we don't have to put on an act. We're not having to, perform for anyone. We're just being who we are. And it means that if people like that, and, because we take the approach of we want to be your friend first before we even discuss any sort of business with you, we, people resonate with that. And so we're very lucky. We've heard from multiple people that, we have a good reputation currently amongst a lot of creators, that they value our time and they value talking to us and things like that. So we're lucky, but that's taken 4 years to build. We've not been able to do that overnight. It's not like something that fell into our laps. That's taken 4 years of us talking to folks and moving through and doing that. Final thing I'll just say, on the building early connections. Shoot your damn shot. I can't tell you, Mike Shea, like Tom said, B. Dave Walters, Runesmith, Cinderblock Sally, all these people,
Matt got Brennan,
exactly.
Yeah.
And you, Matt, you know this in the same way that we do. You have to go what we call big fish hunting, of like being like, look, the person who we think would never respond to us, let's still send them an email, because even if we get a no, we know we're a step closer to possibly interacting with that person and spending time with that person, So it is one of those of like, yeah, we're not afraid to reach out to big people and to find ways to talk to these folks and spend time with them. We're not getting that like star-stunned, like when you see someone being like, we're trying to interact with people that we really think are awesome in the space, that we love and are thankful for their content, that we consume their content on a regular basis. I saw Arlentric and I loved his content and have loved watching him, and was like, I want to be that homie's friend. I want to like get to know him and hang out. He seems really cool. Lo and behold, a year later, we now talk regularly outside of him collaborating on Homie and the Dude and also just making amazing content and being an awesome person. And that all came from reaching out, talking to him, meeting him at Gen Con, having a great time. And now we call each other like once every couple of weeks to like hang out and have a catch up. And then, maybe talk like, how's your content stuff? What are some like, and spitball ideas with each other and that kind of thing. And so, yeah, just shoot your shot, man. Like, life's too short to be afraid.
I'll echo that 100%. And I think there's kind of this balancing act you have to play as a content creator or as a writer or game creator, whatever it is that whatever it is you call yourself or aspire to be. There's shooting your shot and being humble about the fact that you are a small creator. That goes a long way. You be respectful, you be humble, you say, hey, I know you're a bigger creator than me, but I've got this cool thing that I believe in, and I think my audience and your audience might resonate. How do you feel about this?
Yeah.
I think that's one way to approach it. And then also leveraging spaces like the one that we're in right now. The TTRPG Rising Tide community might not be the place where you go to market your game to have it be sold, but it could certainly be the place where you connect with other people who are on the same wavelength as you, right? We've got the round tables that we have every other day almost. They're called, Jess, I'm sorry. The goals meetings, the goals meetings that take place here every other day. You can jump on that goals meeting to talk about your own goals and make connections with people who might be, of a similar mindset to you. So I think looking for people who are kind of on the same elevator level as you and working with them, collaborating with them is another way to make those connections and to find the people that you like working with and to find the people that maybe you don't connect with as well, right? Like that's equally important.
Yeah, I'll just add one quick thing.
Totally.
And that is, this space is a difficult space. Like for a hobby, it's fun and it's rewarding and you meet people. But if you are looking to do something that resembles some sort of career or side career or that, it is a difficult space. So what I would say to you in the audience is, know that it is a journey. It's like if you're looking to make something happen quickly, it might happen. It hasn't for us. It has been a journey for us. But we've calibrated our expectations. And if you can do that, if you can really calibrate your expectations, and it effectively it becomes a truth machine for you. If you're just in it for a quick in and quick out, or a quick in and then whatever, it's going to expose that inside of you. And you're not going to be able to withstand that. If you're in it because you really love what you're doing and you love this space, start out small. Just do something small, something that you really are passionate about. Get a few people behind you, maybe reach out to a couple creators, sell them on your dream, and that starts to build on itself slowly. And then you can start out with another bigger little project. And pretty soon you're at a place where you're like, wow, we've done something here that feels like it could be something. It's taken us years to do that. And I'm sure other people have had a faster route, and others are still trying to figure it out. I would just say to you that the normal progression in here is challenging. So enjoy the path, because it's a hard path. And if you do that, then even if it doesn't work out, you've enjoyed the journey, right? And we talk about it still. Like, Homie and the Dude might not exist in a year. We don't know if it will or not. So that's why we make our decisions the way we do, which is when we look back, we want to at least have made some really good friends along the way.
Yeah, no regrets. Have great people around us. Love the people that we work with. And dude, make memories. That's like shit. I don't know about anyone else. When you're so deep in the trench of writing or editing or layout or promoing or Kickstarter or whatever, I think we all sometimes can forget that there's light at the end of this and why we're doing this. And it's maybe to add something to the community that we feel is missing. Maybe it's because you feel like you have a voice that needs to be heard. Maybe it's because you feel like there's something that hasn't been done in the community that you want to kind of fill in and get your niche kind of in. Whatever it might be. It's just about, giving it a go, but,
having some fun along the way.
Having some fun, yeah, man, because dude, we're father and son. We do this because we just love hanging out with each other. Like, we didn't always have a great relationship. We're here now because we've, worked on our time together. We love hanging out with each other, and this is, the best way to do that. And yeah, guys, like, look, we don't know whether what we're doing is going to work in 5 years, 10 years. We don't know, but we're learning as we go. We make mistakes. We learn from those failures. We keep going. And hell, if Homie and the Dude doesn't exist in a couple years, then don't do what we did. But hey, if we are still here, then maybe we're getting something right. Maybe we're getting, and 4 years on, maybe we're getting something right.
Yeah. Well, I think definitely this marketing strategy that the two of you have embarked upon is, in my books, the right direction. I hope that, it continues to pay dividends for Homie and the Dude. And speaking of, seeing the things that you guys got to bring into this world, the Scorched Basin is definitely one of them. So as we near the end of today's show, I'd love to throw the microphone back over to the two of you, share any last parting thoughts that you might have on alternative marketing. And then, of course, can you please remind us where people can find the Scorched Basin and find, you guys, maybe they want to sign up for your newsletter or something like that. How can they go about doing that?
Heck yeah. So last bits about marketing, guys, give it a go. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna succeed. It's gonna be a roller coaster, but have a good time. And then Scorched Basin. So you can find us on Kickstarter at the moment. We are it's called the Scorched Basin, a Mad Max / Dune inspired system agnostic TTRPG setting. Guys, we've put hours of our lives, a year into this book. It's over 300 pages. There's, all manner of incredible stuff in it, and we're super, super proud of every single thing. We wish we could bring the product to the people first, because God, like, there's so much in here and so much that people are going to love. And it's, we think this is going to be a legacy one that people are going to look back on in 5-10 years and be like, holy hell, that was a book. And so we're just super, super, super proud of this one. So if you're interested at all, what I would say is go find your favorite creator, see if they've got a Scorched Basin link at the bottom of any of their videos, and go back through those creators so that you can support them. If you're unsure about who that might be, feel free to reach out to us and we can give you a list of creators, and if any of them are your people. Also, equally on the Kickstarter page, under the collaboration section, you will see a section about the voiceover creators. You can click on a link there that has a list of every voiceover collaborator that we've kind of worked with on this project, so you can have a look through there. But yeah, otherwise, if you want to sign up to our newsletter, you can do so through our website, Homie and the Dude. No, is it hattybuilder.com? Homieandthedude.com. And then outside of that, we've got a YouTube channel. We were just talking to Matt about how we're just getting back into making a lot more video content. So we've just posted our first two TTRPG D&D skits on there, as well as also there's a bunch of actual play content that we post on there from a year or two ago, so go check that out. And finally, other than that, another great place to interact with us generally. Look, Tom and I are people, so we're happy to answer questions and talk to folks. Like, lots of people have reached out and we hop on calls and talk to folks, so if you have any questions, join our Discord server. There's links to that on the Kickstarter page in the team section of the Kickstarter page. There's also links in our link tree, all manner of places where you can find a way to get into our Discord server. But come hang out in our Discord server. There's a bunch of great people there, and everyone's sharing stuff, having a great time. It's a safe, inclusive, diverse space filled with amazing people. And it's also a great place where, if you do get the Scorched Basin, tell us about your adventures. We want to actually hear all about that stuff. Hilariously, my favorite thing about this is seeing people argue about whether my NPCs are good guys or bad guys. So I love that kind of stuff. So if you want to take the time to do any of that, we'd super, super appreciate it. But otherwise, there's been 20 of you here who have listened to us two jabronis talk, and we just appreciate every single one of you for taking the time out of your evening, out of your day, out of your afternoon. I don't know what time zone you're in, but thanks for just supporting us and caring about two people who we're just two folks, and we love and support you guys. And Rising Tide is amazing.
Rising Tide is
server,
Rising
spread
Tide
this
is cool.
around. Like, dude, this is the other thing, guys. Like, support your creators. Make sure that you're going out, liking, commenting, engaging the algorithms for people, because it takes a couple seconds. Support this channel, spread it to other people. And yeah, that's what this is all about. And funnily enough, the easiest stuff is sometimes the stuff that we do the least.
What's the old rising tide saying?
I don't know, something about boats and water and shit.
Yeah.
Like
it's the outro. I don't want to spoil it. It's the outro.
Yes.
But thanks guys for being here to chat with us all about your experiences. You shared some real big, amazing bits of wisdom. So I hope everyone listening, whether that be live here on the server or post recording on YouTube or in podcast land, thank you for being here listening as well. So please go and give Homie and the Dude, Tom and Bodhi, all your love. The links will be posted by Jess if they haven't already.
Thanks, Jess.
And they'll be in the show notes for the recorded content as well. While you're going to follow Homie and the Dude, I also encourage you to go and follow the TTRPG Rising Tide. We have an account on most of the social media platforms that folks are using these days, Threads, Blue Sky, and all that good stuff. We'd also appreciate it if you shared the good word of the TTRPG Rising Tide community with other folks that you think might be, like-minded individuals who are trying to find their way into the TTRPG space. This is one of my favorite Discord communities, for creatives by creatives. So please spread the good love. I've been Matt at roll_play_chat on all socials, and this has been another RT Talks. Join us live in the month of October for the next one. I don't think we've quite landed on a time or date yet, but stay tuned and we'll be sure to ping you on the server for when that comes. Thanks again, Tom, Bodhi. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Matt.
Appreciate you, dude. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Remember, a rising tide lifts all boats.
That's what it was. That's the one.
Bye, guys.